You know, a dream is like a river, ever changing as it flows. And a dream is just a vessel that must follow where it goes. Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. This is Maxwell Ivy, known around the world as the Blind Blogger, and you can find me over at theblindblogger.net, where you can also purchase my books, Leading You Out of the Darkness into the Light, A Blind Man's Inspirational Guide to Success. It's not the cookie, it's the bag, and my upcoming book, The Blind Blogger's New York City Adventure, and How You Too Can Chase Your Dreams. And today I am very blessed and honored and just pleased to have a guest who, me and him, we have a lot of philosophy in common. I told him earlier I think some of my stories could have been in his book. His name is Ken Elliott. He is a big believer, advocate. His life is just totally built around the law of attraction and manifesting what you want in your life. His book is called Manifesting 1, 2, 3, and You Don't Need Three. He's a world famous artist, writer, traveler, and I'm very privileged that he has agreed not only to come on my show, but to basically to have patience with me through some of my stuff, to where we met a few months ago, and here it is 3, 4, 6 months, who knows how long it is, before we finally got to talk and get to share some of this great stuff about the law of attraction with you. So you can find out more about him on his website, kenelliott.com, or manifesting123.com. Hey, Ken, welcome to the show, and thanks for finally being able to, for us finally to be able to get together.
Oh, it's been fine. We're both pretty busy. I so appreciate you not only taking the time to make this way with your blog, but having you on the show. It's a real honor.
Right. Well, like I said, I honestly, truly believe in what you're sharing, what you are putting out there in the world with the manifesting book and your talks. It's worked a lot in my own life, and I thought people could benefit from getting to meet you and hearing some of your stories and some of your beliefs, and maybe even you could share a couple of your techniques with them. I'm really interested in having you talk to them about the idea of the movie, because I used the idea of the movie in some of my writing, but for me, it was getting rid of the old movies. With you, it's creating a whole brand new movie. So why don't you tell them a little bit about how you came to to understand the law of attraction, in your opinion, how it works?
Well, I didn't know anything about the law of attraction. I had a very gifted friend, still do, a very gifted friend, Judy Goodman, Goodman. That's judygoodman.com. And I had an issue in my life, needed some help. I called someone who was an author, very plugged in the metaphysical world. This was all very new to me, but I thought maybe I needed a psychic. And Judy hates that name, but I needed something beyond the help that I was getting. Nothing was working. And this woman gave me Judy Goodman's name. Long story short, she said, when I asked, where does Judy's information come from? My friend on the phone that made the recommendation came back and said, well, her information goes right from the top. Is that good enough for you? So I was off to a shaky start. That really spooked me. But I called this Judy Goodman woman, and we hit it right off like old friends. Well, she speaks Southern like we do, so that was helpful. She's in Georgia, and incredibly gifted, and was a big help. What I didn't realize, that I had opened a big door. Maybe it was something you could say I was here to do. I was starting to come into the next thing in my life. I started having a lot of experiences, paranormal experiences. I was beginning to meet people who were writing books through no real effort of my own. I was just, this world was just sort of coming into my door. And a friend of mine, a mutual friend now between Judy and I, called me and asked me if I knew who I was dealing with Judy. She said, I understand you're talking with Judy a lot. I said, well, yeah, she's really psychic. And the woman said, oh, no. She has a lot more gifts than what you might understand. And she started to reel off these things that Judy could do. And as a kid, I liked ESP. I liked all that paranormal stuff. So I was familiar with some of the things she was saying. But then she said something I'd never heard of. She said, if you send Judy something in thought, she'll get it. And I didn't understand that. And she explained that a year before, she had sent Judy a bouquet of flowers for her birthday. Now, Judy was off the Caribbean doing some work there. This woman, I don't think, knew her room number or her hotel number or her GPS point in the world. She simply had the thought to send Judy a bouquet of flowers. Checked in with Judy the next day, and Judy described the bouquet of flowers that Judy received. Although they're in spirit, Judy is sensitive enough. She could see this energy as it appeared. This gift appeared in the near physical but spirit world. That was pretty interesting, and I got off the phone and thought about that. That's just about the wackiest thing I've ever heard of. But I didn't know Judy that well, but I knew that she was quite capable. So I talked with Judy. Turns out she had a birthday coming up the next day, if I have it correctly. And I asked if I could send Judy something. She said that's okay. And it's in the book. There's a chapter called the Rose and the Duck.
Yeah. Yeah. But
and
you told me when we started that all I really needed to do with this book was read that chapter.
Yeah, read that chapter and that'll rock your world. So
yeah, it sure will.
Yeah. So I'll give you, I'll tell you that I did successfully send her a simple rose in a vase with thought. And her instructions to me when I said, I want to send you something tomorrow. So what are you going to do? And I said, well, I'm going to think about it really hard and send it to you. And she gave me a key to the kingdom, but I didn't understand what she was saying. But I'm going to spell it out for you guys. I'm giving away everything in this book here. You don't have to go buy the book. You don't have to spend $14.95. Yes, there's a lot more info in there. But when we get through with this show, you're going to have what you need. And it is a great treasure. And before I go forward in this show, I'll give you an idea of how great this treasure is. I'll make the assumption, it's my thinking, that there are three great gifts, the three greatest gifts I can think of. The first one is we have the gift of life and consciousness. The second one is that we can make life. And the third one is that we can make anything. And we were allowed to make anything. And everything that's ever been invented in this world was either a thought first, or it was an act of God or an accident. And in the course of this interview, you're going to learn how thought actually begins to take form when you think it. And that's the point of the story. I'm going to send Judy something with pure thought. I have no training, no skills, no exceptional giftedness, just Mr. Average or less so in terms of concentration and those sorts of skills. None are necessary. I'm simply came with the idea to send Judy a yellow rose in a simple silver base. I let it go. I went to work. I was worthless at work. I kept thinking about this and thinking about this. Came back and crammed and jammed on it some more. And then I picked up the phone and called Judy. Bottom line was she got the rose. She got it. She got the simple rose in a vase. There's more to that story. She also said, well, you overworked it. You didn't need to work so hard on it for me to get it. So that was pretty interesting. Now down the road, you want me to continue to do the other story?
Yeah, because I think the duck story is not only important to finish this thought, but it's also a really cool story.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's kind of like gather around the campfire. You want to hear another one like this one. So I had been playing post office with Judy. Post office means I was just like a kid. Maybe I'd get bored and I said, well, I'm going to send her something, some kind of object. And I'd call her up later in the day or the next day. And the line was always, did you get what I sent? And I didn't realize how patient she was being with me. The end result of all this years and years and years of this play stuff is that someday Ken's going to understand that there's something going on here and he'll write a book about it. Well, I was not the brightest bulb in the box here. So I just played around with this. I didn't really want to step up and do anything. I'm not a writer. I couldn't connect what I was doing to anything important. So I'm going to spell it all out for you so you can save yourself a lot of years on this thing. So way down the road, I don't know, 5 years, 12 years, playing around with this stuff, I had an idea. And I called Judy up. I said, are you busy? Now, I'm in San Francisco at the time. I lived there, 2,100 miles away from her home in Georgia. She said, no, what's up? And I said, well, I want to send you something in thought, but I want to do it in real time. I want you to stay on the phone with me, and I'm going to send you something in thought now, and I won't tell you what it is. And when I'm done, you tell me what you got. It was kind of like Alexander Graham Bell sending a message. You know? We're going to do this little experiment. So she said, well, what are you going to do? And I said, well, I'm going to think about it really, really hard. Now, that first time when I sent the rose, she gave me these instructions. Let me come back around to that. She said again, way back when, she said, what are you going to do? I said, well, I'm going to think of something. I'll send it to you. She said, listen, it's going to be my birthday tomorrow. When you send it tomorrow, you're going to think of the thing. And because it's a gift from me to her, it's going to come from your heart. I'm going to get it every time. There's that thing about the heart. I never thought about it again. I would just think and concentrate real hard. Am I a good concentrator? No. My mind drifts. You know, I think about everything. I have to get back on the thing, and I send her this deal, and she gets it anyway. I'm not very good at it, but I had a 100% success rate. So now here's the big experiment. Ken has one big idea. In fact, I called her and said, I got an idea. And she said, oh, just one? like, hello, grasshopper. So, all right. So I don't know when I'm going to send her. She's there. She's ready. We're live on the phone. And I've got to think of something to send her. Now, I don't know anything about what's going on here. I'm not a scientist. I'm not even a metaphysicist. I'm not kooky enough to think I understand what's going down here. I'm just like a kid playing a game. But it's worked every time so far. So this is a bigger test. This is live on the phone. And I'm an artist, so I have this wackadoodle kind of way of looking at things. But what I'm really after here is, since I don't know how this works, how this is transmitted, I don't know what's in the broadband. I don't know what the kids are thinking about outside the window. So I've got to come up with something unique. So it's not hard for me to think of something crazy. So I'm thinking, all right. I said, do you have a chair in the study? She said, yeah. I said, I'm going to put something in that chair. She goes silent. And I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to send her a 5-foot-tall Daffy Duck. Now, I don't have to have a picture of a Daffy Duck. I can just kind of think Daffy Duck, and I know that's good enough. And I'm going to put a vertical stick in his hand, kind of like one of those wooden rulers, vertical stick. And at the top of the vertical stick, like a T, is another piece of wood that's stuck to it somehow. And on the front of that horizontal piece of wood, written in red lipstick, it says love. So I got a 5-foot-tall Daffy Duck, see him in the chair, and he's got this hold-up sign that says love on the top in red lipstick, and I start to go to work on that. I don't know what to do. All I know to do is to think about this thing and just repeat it and kind of, I don't know, cram it a little bit and try to put some effort behind it. Remember that thing about the heart that Judy talked about?
Yeah.
Forget it. Yeah, I never thought about that again. That's the shortcut, but I had no idea. So I'm really, really trying really, really hard to imagine this Daffy Duck sitting in her chair. I don't even know what her chair looks like, but I got a Daffy Duck with this sign. And I'm working on it for about 2 minutes. Really, really, really hard. Now, of course, my mind wanders probably 10 or 15 times because I'm not the expert at concentrating. I don't know what manifesting is. I'm just playing this parlor game. And after about 2 minutes, I said the magic question. I said, okay, I don't know what else to do. You got to tell me what you got. Now, I'm going to put that off to the side for a moment. During these years, I started meeting some people that have written some very profound books in the metaphysical field. One of those I met right away is a man called William Buhlman, B-U-H-L-M-A-N, and he's an expert on out-of-body travel, how to go to the other side. Some simple techniques, and you will float out through the roof, and you're on the other side where the ghost and the deceased grandma and grandpa are, the whole ball of wax. Very empowering. And I've done that voluntarily and not voluntarily. And it is very empowering, very compelling to have that experience. So William told me something off the wall one time. He was giving a conference up here and staying with me. And in a private conversation, he mentioned that sometimes he goes the other side. And the things on his wish list, and he's a list maker, he would make lists and he would call me and tell me about the things that are on his list, and they would come true. He would write those down, and he'd see that list every day. He might touch it. He might stick it on the mirror and see it when he's brushing his teeth, whatever he did. But these things would happen. And he was now on list number 2. And there were some pretty outrageous things that were on list number 2. that he wanted to happen, as so it was with list number one. Everything came to pass. Did I do anything with that? No, because he's an important guy. He's written a book, and I'm not that. So this guy's giving me some really cool info, but it's just nonsense to me. I'm not worthy, I guess, of doing what William's doing. But William told me he puts things on his list, and when he goes to the other side, that's the near astral plane. That is where the ghosts are, we'll say, the other worlds are. Sometimes he goes to this place and everything on his list, he would see just lined up. It was just arrayed side by side by side. And these intentions, these thoughts, these things he would write down on his list, his wishes, he could see them in various stages of formation. And I said, well, what are you talking about? He said, well, it's not like they're just lined up there. If I've had something on my list for just a few weeks, it looks like a wisp of vapor. It looks like a little bit of smoke. And when you're on the other side, you have a knowing about things. And he can look at that little wisp and he knows that that is the new refrigerator that he wanted to have, that he's working on. Or it could be a concept, like it would be less stress. The concept doesn't really have a shape. It just looks like a cloud. If he's been working on, say, some sort of vehicle, a roof on the house, he's been on that for weeks and weeks and weeks, these puffs of smoke start to take form. And the more layers of tension, the more he repeats that thought, the more he touches that piece of paper or just has it in his mind, day after day after day, and once a day is all that's necessary, the more form that little puff of smoke will take on. It'll start to take on a 3D look. He might see that new minivan. It's been 6 weeks now, 4 weeks now, 3 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks. And it's very, very 3D over there now. It's got more and more physicality. It's not a blush of color anymore. It's full color. It looks pretty solid over there. And William knows that it's about to come into the physical world. It may mean that he's got the money for it, or maybe the money will come in. Maybe here's a big word, the equivalent of money will come in. Maybe he gets the van for free. I don't know. But the van is coming in because he specified it and repeated that thought. So I know this going into this thing with Judy. So I have, just going to turn off some of this noise here. If you heard that ping, I'm sorry about that.
That's all right.
That's what sort of popped my ear.
People are used to one or more of my electronic devices talking when I don't want them to. So don't worry about it.
Okay. Well, I'm just shutting some things down here. So, all right. So I know about this puff of smoke stuff. I also know I haven't done a darn thing about it. This makes me start to think about how dumb I was about this.
Yeah. So let's get back to the finish of the story about the duck.
Yeah. All right. So I'm all wound up about doing this duck thing. I've worked on it for 2 whole minutes, and I'm up to speed on what thought looks like, but I never really connected that to what's going on here until I did the rose thing. So I asked Judy, all right, I've done this for 2 minutes now. I'm just worn out on this. I don't know what to do. So what have you got? What do you see? And she raised her voice. Now, Judy's a very, very considerate and nice person. She also never does anything, not much randomly. So what she did to me was on purpose. So I didn't figure it out at the time. Much later, I figured this was all queued up to be a lesson for me. She raised her voice, and this is what she said. Are you trying to send me something? I said, well, yeah, I'm working my family off on it, my exact word. She said, well, you need to get on this, buddy. You're just making smoke here. You have a wimpy thought. You get a wimpy result. You need to get on this. You're just wasting my time. And what kind of scared me? I mean, my friendship's going down the hole. I'm stupid, and I'm not very good at something. I'm flunking this thing out. And it just flabbergasted me that she would talk that way, and I'm wasting her time. I'm just total failure here. And so I had the opportunity to work on this some more, so I amped it up. I didn't think I had it in me, and I worked on this for another 4 whole minutes. This Daffy Duck. Yeah, I'm a real adept at this. So 4 more minutes, I'm cramming and jamming this Daffy Duck thing, sticking his hand in the chair and 5 feet tall and all this stuff. And then I didn't realize I could get worn out by thinking. Maybe I need to think more. At any rate, all right, I told you. So I'm just toast. I don't have anything left. I don't know what to do here. I really don't know what I'm doing in parentheses. What do you got? And she said, are you trying to send me a cartoon character? And I just got this big lump in my throat. You know, you watch these psychic people on television. When it happens to you, it kind of gets you, you know. And I said, yeah, yeah. She said, well, there's this poor little humany thing, 2.5-foot tall humany thing in the chair. And he's got little skinny arms and little skinny legs. And he's got cartoon colors on him. So I figure he's a cartoon character, and he's got a stick in his hand. In 6 minutes, 2,100 miles away, I started thinking about this cartoon character thing. No real clear visualization, no picture. Add on this sign, and she's getting it. It is taking form in her chair. And so I just gave you the keys to the kingdom. And I thought about that and just kind of did a little woohoo to myself, got off the phone, thanked her for her time. Glad she didn't hate me. And I really didn't think about it much again in a real intellectual way. I was just a 3-year-old playing a little game. And then it was, I don't know, it might have been a 1.5 years, 2 years later or something. Somebody had a copy of The Secret, and they brought it over to the house and said, you need to watch this. And it's the law of attraction. It's the gang there and The Secret. Hardly, you know, it's a huge success. And I'm all for people doing the law of attraction, praying, asking, vision boards, wish, just ask. I'm the Johnny Appleseed of getting people to ask for things if they think they deserve it or not. And I saw that DVD, and I sat back, and my mouth was open. I went, oh my God, these people have careers talking about this for all over the country doing this stuff. But you know what? They never once mentioned how this works. They don't know how it works. They don't know that puff of smoke thing. They don't know if you keep doing what they say they do, and they're just saying repeat these intentions, that it builds. And there's a big difference between my telling someone there's this power outlet over here on the wall, and if you know how to use it, there's some stuff that comes out of that, and you can make it run a fan or an air conditioner or all kinds of things if you can dream it up. They don't know that power outlet thing. And I'm not casting aspersions, but when I do lectures, I'll ask people right off the bat, how many people, and I did this with 180 people not long ago, how many people in this choir, this is the choir, these are the manifesting people, they're about manifesting. How many people have not seen The Secret? And about 12 hands went up, well under 20. And I said, all right, so we got those many people haven't seen The Secret. Now, all the rest of you, which are probably 170 people, all the rest of you who have seen The Secret, and you have been given this information about the law of attraction manifesting, how many of you still use what you learned in the video every day? About 12 hands went up, a very small number out of that big crowd. If you absolutely knew that when you think of something and begin to repeat it, it starts to take form, you'd be a lot less likely to let this go.
Right. And I need to confess something here. I have never seen the movie The Secret.
Yeah.
I've never sat through or listened to the movie The Shift by Wayne Dyer, but
Yeah.
I have lived this stuff. I mean, I have had many opportunities where I have continued to think every day on a particular thing, and eventually that thing happened. Now, there's a couple of things that you've mentioned here. One is that, you know, you have to have the intention, you have to be thinking the thoughts, envisioning the puff of smoke, vision of what you want, and doing it on a regular basis. But I noticed one thing you said, and I think it's important because I recently had an experience with this. You said, I didn't understand it. I didn't even try to understand it. I was just having fun and following the process and doing this like a 3-year-old. And I think a lot of times the problem is people have something that's working, and they then decide, I got to figure out why it's working. And you know, I mean, because like I recently had what I consider one of the most spiritual experiences of my lifetime. I was speaking at a public conference in Philadelphia. At the end of the day, we're all goofing around, taking pictures and videos. And I said, hey, I love to sing. Would y'all mind if I stand here under this banner for the event and sing a few bars? And they go, sure. I go walk up. I stand next to the wall. I start shaking. I go 270, 280 pounds. The wall and the two guys standing next to me in that picture are literally holding me up. I'm having trouble breathing. I'm having to think of every single word and every single breath of a song I've sang thousands of times. You know, it's my theme
Yes.
song. And
Yes.
at the end of the day, I'm sitting there, I'm going, man, what the hell just happened? What is this? And the guy I was with, great speaker, his name was Travis Wolf. He said, Max, don't try to understand it. Just embrace it, thank God for it, and hope it happens again. And I'm like, but I spent the next 2 or 3 days trying to figure out, well, why was I suddenly overcome with all these emotions that never overcame me before? And you know, and instead of just wallowing in the sensations and being happy about them, I'm like, man, there's something wrong. What caused this? And I think
yes.
that's one of the important things about your story is you got to be great at manifesting, not because you knew what it was, but because you just did it. You enjoyed it. You had fun doing it. And so I had to bring that out because, like I said, I had a recent, what I consider a life-changing experience in this area where I was trying to figure out something that didn't have an answer, or if it did, I'm not smart enough to get it either. The other thing I noticed that you said is that you didn't really realize how important Miss Goodman is. You did not realize that you were working with such an important teacher, and I think that's another thing. Often people will ask me. Often I will tell somebody, "Hey, I did an interview with so and so," and they'll go, "Do you know who that was?" And I'm like, "No, I don't know who that was. Who were they?" But I enjoyed having my conversation and we exchanged some great ideas. And I think that's another thing that's important. You didn't really care. You had no idea. You didn't stop to Google Woodman and find out who she was or what she did. You just, a friend of a friend introduced you. You connected with her. You had a conversation. You started following her examples and having fun with it. And the next thing you know, not only are you using it, and not only are you rocking it, because I mean, you from your book, I know you've used this to improve your art, to improve your financial life, to allow you to travel almost for free in some cases. So, that's another thing that I think I think a lot of people just get way over worried about. Is my guru, or even are they a guru? But is my teacher important? Are they famous? Do I really need to be listening to them, kind of a thing? And you didn't go through that with Goodman, which I think is another important thing.
Yeah.
And it goes. Lastly, I love how with me and with you and a lot of people I know, that old. I think it's a Buddhist expression that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, is obvious that it's happened in both our lives. So those are some things that came to me through listening to these stories of yours.
Yeah.
And it is just amazing what you can do when you are envisioning these things, when you are asking for these things that you want and need in your life, and you do it on a regular basis, believing that they will actually occur.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now let me walk back to a number of those things. First of all, I knew Judy before there was an internet. So that goes back a while.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
We were better off before the internet when it came to meeting people in some ways.
Well, in some ways. It's always some ways. But I love the internet. I love all the technology.
I do too.
We're doing this because of technology. I'm not having to put quarters in the payphone here. So when I made the book, I dictated the book. I just put on some headphones and talked it right in. I got an editor later, but it's in my language. So I use conjunctions, can't, won't. If I start writing it out, I go into a more formal way of speaking. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted this everyday language. That was the first thing. The second thing was, because of the way I came into this, I was very careful about the words I used. So I never said, this is a meditation. I don't get a an A plus in meditation. I wouldn't expect anyone else to do that. So I never used that word. I never said you have to concentrate well. Obviously, I don't, so I wouldn't expect that from other people. So that's why I came up with this idea of doing a movie, because we all get a very high mark at watching a movie. No one comes out of the theater saying, "Oh, I'm just terrible at this. I flunked watching Superman today." You know, and no, that's not going to happen. So it's all very, very simply scripted, because that's the way I walked into it. Now, here's another interesting thing. It's as simple as, if you have a thought and repeat it, it starts to build. I want to make it clear, you don't have to manifest that puff of smoke. The only thing you're manifesting, the only thing you're visualizing is the thing you're trying to create. And we're going to get into this a little bit more, but here's a bonus. I don't try to create something along the lines of, well, if I want to go to downtown Denver, then I have to first get some gas in the car. I better check the tires. I better comb my hair. I better put some money in my pocket before I get to Denver. No. I'm manifesting, and our thoughts can make the future. I simply manifest that I'm in Denver. I'm in my future in this movie, and it's already happened. And we'll get that more succinctly later. It doesn't matter how many times I'm going to say this and not be boring. It doesn't matter if you believe this or not. Your thoughts will make things. And I'm really, 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 really good at gravity. Gravity is a natural law. If I let this phone go, it will fall to the ground with a thud. Gravity doesn't care if I understand gravity or believe in it. Gravity pulls things to the ground. And you can do so-called good things and so-called bad things with gravity. Gravity just works. Your thought is a natural law. Now, we haven't detected that. It's not in the science books, but it is what it is, what it is. And it's been proved out so many times to me personally, and not with just Judy, but with two other friends who are highly gifted and can see thought take form. That's a very, very rare gift. It's interesting that I'm surrounded by these people. I finally got it, and I wrote the book that I'm showing here. I finally figured it out, and I wrote the book. So here we go. Doesn't matter if you believe it or not. You're going to repeat a thought. It will start to take form. You don't have to imagine the puff of smoke. You simply imagine that you're in your future. It's already happened. And that's pretty much a number one, but we can go into that some more. But tell me about a story that you have had, and I'll swap you a story. What's worked for you?
Well, I didn't realize that I wasn't manifesting specifically enough, because my visions were more general. I had been putting it out there that I wanted to travel more and meet people face to face, and I kept doing the work, writing my blog, recording my videos, and I also was submitting forms for competitions that might result in my traveling. And I ended up winning what they call an Amtrak Writer in Residence. It took me to New York City for a couple of weeks, and I had a great time there. Well, the thing is I had the trip, but then I didn't have the money for the place to stay or for the expenses while I was there. I just kept thinking, the money needs to show up. The money needs to show up. Well, my family used to be in the carnival business, and we still have some contracts where we subcontract the rides and we collect a percentage of the gross. Well, last year when this happened, my uncle decided he no longer wanted to fulfill one of these contracts. He was going to go sit on the shopping center instead that week. He didn't tell anybody. But the owner, the committee people at the convention center that puts on this event, they remembered me and my dad and my mom, and they called my mom up and said, is there any way you can find us a carnival last minute? My mom found them a carnival. The carnival brought them better rides than they ever had before. They made more money than they ever had before. And the owner of the carnival paid us better for booking him into this event than we usually got paid. Boom, I've got money to actually get off the train in New York City instead of just go there and come back. You know, that's the kind of thing that happens. Like I say, I realized from your book that I'm not putting visions out there that are specific enough. Whereas from your explanation there, I get that a lot of people get too specific, and instead of just saying, I want to go to Denver, or I want to go to Los Angeles, or I want to go to Tahiti, they they go, well, I need plane fare, I need hotel rent, I need, and
Yes.
and last continued me wanting to go places. I said, well, I've yet to give my first public talk. I want this to happen. A guy named Joe Pardo emailed me and said, hey, Max, you were great on my show. Would you like to come to my event in Philadelphia? I announced I was going to Philadelphia. Next thing I know, I've got money to go to Philadelphia. Next thing I know, I've got people asking me, Max, would you like to come visit us since you're going to be in the Northeast anyway, and you can stay at our house? So just stuff like that has continued to happen. The more that I continue to put it out there that, hey, I want to travel, I want to meet people face to face, I want to share my story of going from a failing carnival owner and a person dying from obesity to somebody who's healthy and happy with his work as an author, coach, and speaker now. So those are, like I say, my visions have been too general, haven't been specific enough, but they've really, really worked.
Yes. Well, there is a power to doing something general and a power to do something specific. It all comes from this. I've been the other side plenty. Alive. I didn't have to get in a car wreck to get over there. And I'm surrounded by very gifted friends, a number of gifted friends who go to the other side a lot. Judy Goodman goes to the other side every night. William Buhlman, the out-of-body author, he goes out-of-body a number of times a week. So they have told me a lot about things over there, and I've had some experience of my own, so I can speak to that. On the other side, your thoughts are king. It's all a construct. If you see an object, it's a thought form. Somebody thought it up and it took form. A group of people can get together and they can do a temple, or one person can do a temple, but you'll see things over there, all kinds of things. And they were thoughts first, and they come into form very quickly. And if you say something like I command, then it is a true command. Anything you say is a command, including when you make this statement, I want an airplane. If you're on the other side, you say, I want an airplane. Ain't no airplane going to happen because you made the command to be wanting. I need to be in France. Nothing's going to happen because you're needy of being in France. Now, thoughts are the same over here. They're just slower here. We're in the physical realm. So I don't want to cripple people up on this. I don't have a lot of rules, but watch out. Avoid saying want or need. So I desire, I am creating, I am making, I'm pointing myself to, I'm commanding. Use words like that. But if you declare that you want something and you're in the line with the genie there, and you come and say, well, I want a Studebaker, they don't even know what you're talking about. Why would you come up here and tell me you're wanting for something? I'm the guy that will make you something. So next, come back when you figure out how to do this. So in your future, and this is the number one of 1, 2, 3. In your future, imagine you're in your, the number one, you imagine you're in your future. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm in my future. So imagine you're in your future. If you don't have to be specific, the most important thing, and I like to prioritize these items on this list. Write them down if you wish. I do both. I have them memorized. I have them written down. I imagine I'm in my home, in my future. It's at the end of the day. I'm looking at it. I'm sitting in the comfortable couch. I'm sitting in this chair right here. And I'm going to make the statement because I'm building it as I make it right now. I'm in my future. This is all make-believe, but I just took a breath of my future air. That's a weird kind of feeling some days. And I declare, I observe, I have perfect health. I'm in my future, and I observe I have perfect health. And now we're going to do something else to this thought and we're going to multiply it. We're going to make it exponentially stronger. Remember that thing about the heart that Judy talked about?
Right.
This is what she said. We're going to take this thought, and then we're going to do something with our heart. There's two great powers in the universe. One is love, and one is fear. Gratitude is love. Worries, those are fear. It's easy to just turn on the television. You can split the world right in two. And I don't like to, as my English teacher said, don't put out sweeping generalizations. But when you can see the world as love or fear, there's not a lot of gray. Yes, there's some gray. We're not the same all day long. But let's get on the positive team. And I'm in my future. I observe I have perfect health. Now I want to make that thought even stronger. And I say, I'm so very grateful. I'm gonna give that a little time. Just let it sink in. I may not feel it. Sometimes I'll say one of these things, the tears roll down my face. But I've done this thousands of times. I'm not gonna have that emotional thing like you felt at that conference every time you go up to sing. But I can say I'm so very grateful. Give that time to just get into that thought and mix in, as I like to say, like cream going into coffee. And then I go into the next scene in my movie. And so I have a number of scenes in my future. And I'm not saying that I want to go see Max in my future and I have to get a ticket and I have to do this and pack and all this kind of stuff. No, in my future, I'm with Max at his home. And I'm so very grateful. I don't have to figure it out. And if I keep saying that, a number of things can happen. I will literally go to Max at your place. I will see you as I'm seeing you now, which is the equivalent of being there with you online in a video. A number of other things can happen. There is money and the equivalent of money. There is an airplane ticket and the equivalent of airplane ticket. You got the equivalent of a train ticket to New York. Yes, it was a ticket, but you did not work 40 hours punching in, punching out to earn, to go get a check and buy that ticket. It came to you. That's very interesting. That's the equivalent of you're going out and buying a ticket. The ticket came to you, and I just love that.
Right. I think that's one thing that a lot of people mistakenly, or they think that when they're putting those visions of who they want to be and where, they think money. They think
Yes.
earning the money, but they
Yes.
don't think equivalent of money or equivalent of resources. Because in some cases during my life, especially in the last few years, I have had people who have showed up and they have performed services for free or for much less than they usually charge. And
Yes.
those are also the same things. They are equivalent to money or equivalent
Yes.
to resources. They're things I
Yeah.
did not have to do, did not have to pay for, did not have to earn.
Yeah. You got the discount instead of having to pay the extra. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
And once you catch this, you can go back and you can see these things in your life. Now, again, let's put this back in context. It doesn't matter if you believe this or not, which also means it doesn't matter if you're paying attention to it or not. So throughout your life, you've had a lot of things happen that maybe you've been wishing on or thinking of a lot, and it happened. So-called good things, so-called bad things. An example of that would be someone who wants that perfect job. I like to use the word perfect. We all like perfect. We know we'll take perfect when it comes to us. And so they want that perfect job. So they're manifesting that they're in their future, and maybe they're actually visualizing an office. They're working in an office and it's downtown or in the suburbs somewhere. I would offer this instead because it opens up the possibilities, and your thoughts can make anything. So let's not throttle them down. So imagine it's at the end of the day and you're in your comfortable chair and you make the observation, I just love my perfect career. I just love it. It just fills my cup, and I'm appreciated and I'm well thought of. I put out good things. I love this work and I feel so good at the end of the day. It's just perfect. And I'm so very grateful. That could be all hundreds of thousands of things in the world you could be doing. And going back to you, Max, there was something that clicked, and it doesn't have to be because you manifested, but something shifted, I'll just speculate, and you came from being a regular guy into someone who, and the phrase I like to use, who seems to be a lot about doing what they're here to do. And then you started having some fun. I'm picking up, you lost some weight. You're meeting a lot more people and moving around a lot more. You got the blog, you're putting out this way, you get some feedback on that. You're not ego driven, you're service driven, and you're a guy that's doing what they're here to do, and you seem to be pretty happy about it.
Yeah, I am. I am. And you mentioned a couple of things in there that I have phrases I like to use that make them simpler
Yeah,
for me. For me,
yeah.
you are always you're always visioning gratitude, being grateful at the end of the day.
Hmm.
That's I assume that's being grateful even if the things haven't happened yet. I like to tell people that a vision board is meaningless without a gratitude border. And
Good, good,
that's
good. It's
that's a
less
simple.
powerful. It's less
It's
powerful.
much less powerful. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it's or sometimes the more positive way to say that is a gratitude board cannot be effective without or a vision board can't really be effective without a gratitude board or something along those lines.
Yes, yeah.
The other thing is one of the questions I don't get a lot of questions that I absolutely dislike. But the one
Mm.
question that gives me the most trouble is when somebody will ask me at the end of an interview, because besides hosting this show, I do a lot of radio interviews. They'll go, Max, what do you see for your future? And that's the hardest question anybody asks me because I really don't see, and it comes back to a phrase I like to use. I've learned not to put limits on God. And that came to me when you were talking about how
Mm.
when somebody's considering their perfect profession, they don't have to confine it to working in this office or whatever you were sharing there. So those are two things
Yes,
that came to mind while I was listening to you.
yeah. So yeah, I've got this really crummy job in this organization, but I need some more money, so I'd like to be a manager in this crummy organization. No, 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 no. Let's just go for the perfect career. It may not be a job at all. But your perfect implies that the money is fine, the commute is fine, everything is it's just perfect. Go for that. Yes, don't put limits on what's there. And in the God realm, um, the God creator by whatever name works for people, I would. I'm speculating, and I talk with Judy and some other people who have some wonderful access over there. And in some of these conversations, I get this idea that we have destiny. And if we look at a pie chart, maybe we have a 30%, 40%, 20% destiny thing. We're going to meet a certain kind of science teacher. We're going to bump our leg over here. We're going to have this calamity over here. We're going to end up in this country or this kind of family, this and that. And some of it's really wonderful and some of it's just terrible. And we're going to learn those lessons and zippity doo dah on that. And it's tough. Um, and and then the other 70%, we get to decide. We get to decide. And I think it's allowed for us to create anything. There doesn't seem to be a governor down here where, all right, no more inventions after September 10th this year. We'll have
Yeah,
no more overtime football after the second game of the season because everything's predestined from here on out. No, that's not going on. It's the wild, wild west down here, and people invade each other, and they make babies, or they don't, or they
yeah,
quit their jobs, or they create new companies. You know,
yeah.
whatever you can think, it will take form if you repeat it, and you get other people to pile on. It's even more powerful. But that gratitude is a big deal.
Right. Well, one of the things I remember from a few years ago, because I went from being a carnival owner to an amusement equipment broker and was pretty happy doing that. I was helping people, and I still do that. It's not my primary thing, but I still do it because if I didn't do it, the other options are just horrible, and I have a problem leaving people who might need my help in that arena to the other options. It's
Mm-hmm.
I hate to call it an obligation, but I sometimes feel like it is that I do kind of owe the industry that I came from an obligation to keep that business going. That's just the way it feels to me. But about
Yeah.
3 years ago, a very good friend of mine named Robin Hallett, who is an intuitive, who is somewhat psychic and who has been able to see things that haven't happened yet for going back to when she was 5 or 6 years old. She started telling me well over 3 years ago, Max, you're destined for more on this earth than to be a carnival ride seller. and and she takes great pride in the fact that she was right.
Yeah. Is that a good pickup line?
No,
Tell
no,
somebody.
no. but I have an advantage when I meet people. I am unique because most people have gone to a carnival but don't know anybody from the carnival.
Yes.
Most people have been to an amusement park but don't know how the rides get to an amusement park. So that's me. Very few people actually have a friend who is visually impaired, much less one that is a blogger, podcaster, and author. Although there are quite a few of
Yeah.
us out there, there are many, many more of us out here than people know. But let me ask you, beyond me, how many other people do you know personally that are visually impaired? I bet you it's a short list.
No, I don't know of another person.
Yeah,
I have in the
which
past, but not currently.
right, which is how I came to be called the blind blogger because
Yeah.
online and in person we all develop shorthand, and people were like, well, he's the only guy I know who's blind and blogger, so we'll just call him that.
Yeah.
So that so like I say, carnivals, equipment brokering, being the blind blogger, uh, being a big, long, tall Texan with the accent. I have a lot of things that make me stand out online and in person, but for some reason, I have not attracted that woman yet.
Okay.
And I think part of the problem was I didn't used to have enough of a description in my mind of what that person was like. And I've noticed here lately, I've
Oh,
really been spending more time in my head thinking about, well, what would this ideal person be? Because, you have, I think you do talk a little bit about the deserving things in your book. And
hmm.
I do believe there was a little bit of subconscious not feeling like I deserved to have a more specific description of, because for a long time my description was a nice voice, relatively tall, and a valid license. That was my list for a while. So as here lately,
Yeah. Hey,
I've been
you're above
spending
the
some time.
bar, Max. That's
Yeah, I
above the
know.
bar. Just
As
saying.
above the
Yeah.
bar. Yeah, I set the bar very low. So here lately, I've been thinking more about what this ideal person would be, and more, since I can't see, more of it is about personality and temperament than anything else. But
Hmm.
I have
Hmm.
made a much longer list in my head, and so that's just because I have put it out there. Most of my friends and some of the people I've been on shows with know that I am, let's call it seeking or listening. So since I can't honestly say looking.
Yes. 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 Well,
Uh,
you have a bit of an advantage in that you're not wrapped into the visual. So that's helpful. So that cuts down the complications. Now,
yes.
I get that you're making a list. My recommendation is this. It's like going back to that career. You can visualize a lot of what I manifest is on the couch. I pretend I'm in my future in the couch at the end of the day. And as it is in visualizing that perfect career, imagine that you're on the couch at the end of the day and your perfect partner sits next to you. You feel the couch sink in a little bit and you pat her on the leg. And, and so you feel her leg. You don't know the personality. You don't know what she looks like. You don't know any of that stuff. You just know it's perfect.
There
And
you
that's
go.
a pretty high bar. And it's a very particular bar that is only for you. But that is so possible because we have 7.5 billion people on the planet and half are female. So, your odds go way up if you don't start specifying all these
Right.
attributes. Perfect. Perfect. I would offer perfect. That would be my wish for you.
I love this, and I tell people all the time. One of the great things about having a podcast and doing interviews and having the guts to send out emails and ask people to come on your show is you can ask them stuff that applies specifically to you in your life. You can be a little selfish and ask them
Yeah.
questions that have been in the back of your mind. And I just love that.
Yeah.
And people are like, Max, you can't do that. I'm like, I do it all the time. Just listen to some of my past episodes.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. We don't
Uh,
have to break for the sponsor. We don't have to do what NBC says we have to do that day.
yeah,
We don't have to. Well, if we got the Oprah magazine going, we have to key it in with whatever the theme is for the September issue. No, we're just freewheeling here, and we're
yeah,
getting some good work done.
yeah.
You're a menace, Max, because you're doing what you're here to do. You're touching people's lives. You're making this wave. You make people think. Sometimes it gets them to a place where they go, well, why don't I try that? Or, you know, if Max can do it, I can do it.
Come on, get my
You're,
tagline in there. If Max can do
yeah,
it, what is my excuse?
yeah, you're a menace. You know, you move people. You move
Yeah,
people.
and
Mover and a shaker.
I had a real hard time accepting that I do that, and because I didn't realize that I was doing it without even knowing I was doing it. As you say, people can
Yeah,
think positive or negative; they're still thinking these thoughts, and these thoughts are still having an effect. I had no idea that by just the sheer fact that I was showing up and doing what I felt like I was meant to be here to do was inspiring people to do stuff. It just never occurred to me until
yeah,
people started explaining it to me. So
yeah.
yeah, I'm glad to be a menace. I love that word. I've always been the good kid, but at the same time, I've always identified with the villains. My favorite wrestler was always Ric Flair. I always liked that guy. He was saying things that I could never see myself saying, because I was always the nice guy, the Southern gentleman, the guy who was raised, Max, even if they hit you, don't hit them back. You're probably bigger than they are, So, so to be called a menace, that's like, I'm going to have to write that one down. That's a red letter moment for anybody who still remembers
Yeah,
newspaper.
that's a high compliment.
I appreciate it. I've really
Yeah,
enjoyed talking with you, and I know I've distracted you to the point where you missed a couple of things you would normally share during the
no,
course of an interview. But I've had a lot of fun, and I hope that you feel like you got your message across, and I hope really people. It may sound a little bit woo woo, but the thing is, it works.
yeah,
Regardless of
yeah.
what you call it, regardless of whether you believe in it or not, it works. So head over to his websites. You can go to manifesting123.com, and you can also go to kenelliott.com. The guy is a world famous artist. He's really too famous to be on my show if you want to know the truth about it. And his book is great. It's Manifesting 123, and you don't need three. Is there anything you want to tell people before we leave? And don't worry about time. My gifted co-host Fred will take care of us.
Okay. Well, the number two, and I don't ever want to go away without talking about the number two, is how do you handle the fear? And you hear so much stuff which is essential. Well, just quit worrying about it.
Yeah,
Well, if your ankle feels like it's going to just, it's already swollen up, and you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, you're going to worry about it. If your bills are due tomorrow and you don't see the money in the bank, you're going to worry about it. When you worry, let's just get this clearly, a worry is a thought. And when you repeat that thought, your thoughts will, because we're natural law, they will just start building that little wisp of smoke, and they will build the thing that you repeat. So if we're smart, we'll try to stop worrying. Well, you just can't do it. Go have a six pack? I mean, come on. We got to be practical. So here's something that I was given. And I want to segue off of that for just a sec, or just put that aside for just a sec. You and I, Max, are doing some work here. A lot of what we do is stuff that we got somewhere else. A lot of what comes out of us sometimes is something we heard on Tuesday and we use it on a Wednesday. It's not our material, a lot of it. And sometimes it's not our juice. We have this extra energy, or somehow we feel compelled to go after this and that. We're like little robots, and we're in service, and we end up doing these things that we would never get up in the morning to think to do some days. This book, all this information was given to me, and I learned it, and I'm passing it on. And this book wouldn't happen until I got the perfect house, and now I'd run up the American Express card, and the first mortgage payment comes due, and I'd never seen that much money being owed coming at me. And I'm in a dead panic. And so is a real estate friend of mine. We're at the bottom of the market, and real estate is not selling as successful as she is. She's burning through savings, and she calls me and she says, "You've got to do something about this worry thing." And I got off the phone. I said, "Well, I guess I do. I got her this far on the number one thing. We're going to rule the world. And now we got these worries, these money worries. What are we going to do?" And I'm trying to think of all these sports analogies like, swing through the ball, just make contact. Oh, be zen. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how to stop worrying about this stuff, and I can't. It's killing me. And I've already worried about it 25 times in the last 5 minutes, and I know I'm just building this failure to pay this bill faster than anything else I can come up with, because I'm loading it with the other great power of the universe, fear. So I have a thought, I'm repeating it, and I'm loading it up with fear. I can't be grateful when I'm worried about this. So I'm loading it up with the opposite thing, and your thoughts will merely make either this positive thing or this so-called negative thing. And it was about 5 o'clock, and I had given up. I didn't have a thought in my head, and this is what came in. Now, I'm not the guy that gets a lot of this input. I'd like for that to happen more. It's in my future that I am more gifted. But these were unusual events, and I got this little package statement. I didn't hear it, but it was right there. Not my words, not my syntax. And the phrase I got was, take action on your worries. Well, I know what I said about it. What the hell is that? I got the phrase from wherever. I don't even know what they're talking about. Take action on your worries. And I just sat back and I'm just not getting this. And my mind went blank again, and I got this little paragraph, and this is what it is. All right, so we're concerned about something. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, and we're on this little closed loop tape, and we're worried about it. It's that swollen ankle thing, whatever that is. Now, I don't know if that was a bee sting or a spider bite, whatever it is. I'm worried sick about it. Is that cancer? Holy cow. Man, this thing feels like a watermelon at night in the dark. What is wrong with me? Am I going to die from the ankle up? You know, and I'm worried sick about it. And I've been worried about it. And we're both guys from Texas, and our odds of going to the doctor right away are pretty damn small. We're going to tough it out, right? But I'm worried sick about it. And so I'm smarter. I'm going to do the number 2 of 1, 2, 3. I'm going to get my smartphone or turn on the light, get a pencil and piece of paper, and I'm going to make a list. I'm going to take action on this worry. I'll use the word concern. Number 1, set the alarm, 9 a.m., call the doctor, make an appointment. Number 2, go to a reputable place on the web. Your doctors hate this. I'm going to go to the Mayo Clinic, and I'm going to look up, my ankle looks like a watermelon, and am I going to die? Number 3, I might call a relative. Does anybody in the family line have a right ankle problem that looks like a watermelon? I'm going to do all this stuff. And I'm going to run the bases when I get up. Chances are that it's going to be fine. If it's finances, what's the list? In the morning, I'm going to get up and try to think of how I can be of more value to the company and make an appointment with the boss and ask for that raise. All right, number 2, people owe me money. You know, I'll run the list, and they're all financial things. Now, at the end of the day, can I get all those phone calls made? Probably not, but I'm going to keep it on the list. And at the end of the day, I can tell myself this. I did everything I know how to do that addresses this concern. In the morning, I'm the only guy in my block that goes to the future. And in my future, this does not exist. My negatives do not exist in my future. I don't take that poo-poo caca into my future. My future is good if I can build whatever I want. That's all I can do. Attaboy, get a good night's sleep. If I wake up with this thing again, have a laugh. Have a laugh. Look at that action list again. Think about it. Try to get some sleep. You can't stop thinking about it, but you can reduce the amount of emotional energy you're putting into that to some degree. That's helpful. That's helpful. And that's the number 2 part.
Well, I couldn't agree more with the idea of taking action, because when you do that, you always feel better. And I've discovered that not only taking action on your list, but also performing small acts for people around you can often also really help you get rid of that problem with worry, which, like you say, when you're concentrating on the negative and you're worrying, you're putting thoughts out there that are working against your success.
Yes, yes. You know, go ahead. Yes.
And you were telling me earlier I'm a menace. I have learned over the years that for me, what I tell I've learned over the years. I go, look, Max, you do it as well as you can today, and then either do it better or do more tomorrow. That's all any of us can do. You know, And I got that from my dad because back before he died, we still had a carnival. We only had 7 or 8 rides, but still, were usually short of help. And usually on Wednesday or Thursday, my brother or some of our help would be running around, pulling their hair out like, we're not going to get this stuff set up. We know we're going to get open. And my dad would always tell me, he would go, look, just take the next step. Just put the next piece of fence out. Just put the next platform out. Just do it. Just slow down and do what you're doing in front of you right this minute, and keep doing that. And as long as you stop going crazy and tearing your hair out, and actually do that next piece in the order of setting this ride up, we'll get open. And with the exception of 1 week when one of our help fell asleep driving and died, and his wife, or excuse me, one of his children died, and his wife got a leg injury that's still not right. Other than that, we never missed an opening. There were times we got open and they weren't happy with us because they were expecting more rides, but we never missed an opening, and that was his attitude. And it was the same way when the people would get on the midway and people would go, well, we don't have enough help, and he would go, load them, run the ride, unload them. Don't run, don't hurry, just do what you can.
Yeah.
And if they get upset, fine. If they have to wait a few minutes to get their ride, we'll stay open a little later. We'll honor the armband a little later. We'll do something. They'll be happy when they go home.
Yeah.
That was just the way. And they say that people, when we're raising children, when we're teaching employees, that they do listen to us, but they watch us a lot more. And I was privileged to watch a guy who was here doing what he was meant to be doing.
My script is something like this, or something I would recommend, and it's right in there with what you're doing. In the morning, I like what Judy Goodman said. Before your feet hit the ground every day, say 7 grateful things. Now, she can see energy in movement. And when you're saying 7 grateful things, you are attracting those things. You don't have to, this is not going into your future. You're very grateful for your health. You're very grateful that you live comfortably. You're very grateful that the bills have been paid. You can do things in your present. You can also, very important wrinkle here, you can be grateful for things in your past. I'm very grateful for that wonderful relationship I had, that beautiful relationship. I'm grateful for that fabulous vacation. Yada, yada, yada. So you're grateful for this. 7 things, 4 things, 12 things. Hit 7, do your best. Now, you go into your day. Right away, I try to take the time to go to my future, into my movie and all the things in my movie, and I'm walking around in my future. If I want to specify that word used earlier, if I absolutely want to go to Boston, in my future, I am in Boston at the coffee shop, or I'm here, or I'm there, and I am Boston, 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 very specifically. I'm creating Boston as a target. In my movie, I make the observation from my couch that, well, I'm not on my couch. In my future, I meet wonderful people, I learn marvelous things, and I see and experience wonderful places. Now, I visualize nothing. And that's when I really started moving around. And by the way, I do have free airline tickets with an airline. Somebody gifted me that on a buddy pass. How the heck did that happen? I have my own private Air Force. If I fly standby, I mean, that's just absolutely nuts. Because I would say at the end of that phrase, I meet wonderful people, see and experience wonderful places, and I don't worry about the time away or the money to get there. And I watch that unfold in about 6 weeks. So I'm unlimited in that thought. Then I go to work. I go to work. I just can't sit around and wait for the fairy godmother to come through the keyhole. So I go to work. So I'm grateful, then I do my movie, and then I go to work. Now, here's the other thing, that law of attraction bit. The law of attraction is a great tagline, and it's one you really get your hand around. But the law of attraction is a side effect of a thought. You have a thought, and then the law of attraction can come to that thought. Now, there are people who are waking up happier and less stressful. There was no law of attraction to that. They didn't even put it in their future, but their future is happy and less stressful. And that's happened to me too. You wake up with a thing, and they will call me and say, oh my God, I'm less stressful. And here's the thing they say that just freaks me out. And they all say, I know it's permanent. There's no law of attraction on that. They woke up with it. It's internalized. So the law of attraction is a great thing that comes after. And I just love that. It's all the above. And don't forget, if we're all sitting around, we're all a bunch of bank robbers in prison, we can still make stuff. It's not, you can make another prison break if you want
Yeah.
to.
Well, perfect example of that. I mean, whether people believe in God, the Bible, or not, even if you just take it as a good story, we have the impact that Paul made writing letters from prison. You know, we have this project out in California now where we have former inmates who now have a radio show who are sharing their experiences with people and encouraging the younger generation in these communities not to do what they did. And these are
That's
people,
fantastic.
you know, and some of them are still incarcerated that are on this show. You know, that's just,
Yeah.
And, you know, you talk about people realizing things. I have a nephew. He's very interested in cooking. And he said the other day, he said, you know, I'd love to go on one of these shows, but if I did, how would I get there? And you know what I told him? I said, Seth, get them to put you on the show and you will find a way to get there. And I had no idea what I was saying when I started saying it, but that's what came out of my mouth.
Yes. And you got there.
Well, he hasn't got there yet, but at least now he believes he can. At least now he believes he can. He's got the, you know, we talk about whether you're thinking positive or negative, you're still having an effect. Well, now he believes he can.
Yeah. Well, and there's the equivalent of it, which is a pretty much unlimited concept. There's a lot of equivalents. There's one way to get there physically. I mean, well, more than one way, but there's a lot of ways to get there on the equivalent basis. This is a marvelous gift. It's one of our three great gifts. We know a lot about how life is created. We know a lot about current living biology, but we don't know much of anything about how thought takes form. And I'm just a crazy guy on the radio show with Mad Max, the Brilliant Menace, and we're letting people know about this, and we're turning them loose because everything that has ever been invented on this planet, if mankind invented, it was a puff of smoke first, and they do it by themselves or people pile on, and then you get the skyline of New York City. And when I see something like that, it's a puff of smoke to me first. And then all these other businesses came on. They had this thought to make their contracting business and the steel business and the insurance companies and they all come together, and this skyscraper comes out of the ground.
You know, and the city of New York, the skyline of Chicago, the skyline in Malaysia, where they're even taller now, that all started because a guy I think he was from Ohio, named Otis, came up with an idea to make elevators safe. And
terrible name, Otis.
Yeah, Otis, terrible name, but he made elevators safe. And once he made elevators safe, it was like, we can build these buildings as tall as we want to.
Air conditioning.
Air conditioning, yes. The city of Houston would not exist without air conditioning. We would still be a swamp that they raise rice and sugar in.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, make me want to swat a mosquito just thinking about it. But I love Houston. Best Mexican food on the planet in Houston, Texas. Get down there and get some. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we recently had an area-wide debate, and I think San Antonio actually won, but they have an advantage over us. Yeah, I tell you, I really enjoyed talking to you, and I look forward to seeing you in person someday. I don't know when or where that'll happen, but I have a feeling it will because we think some of the same thoughts, we associate with some of the same people, and I find it hard to believe that sooner or later we won't end up on the same stage somewhere.
I hope so. Let's make it happen.
All right,
I'll put it out there.
I put it out there too. I put it out there all the time. That with past guests, I've done it with other people who've been on my show. That I feel like they have something important to share, and I really have enjoyed talking with you and reading your book. And that's another great benefit of having your own show is people will send you their books. So People are starting to think, you know, Max, you're just a selfish guy who wants stuff, and that's why you have a podcast. No, I have a podcast because I want to share other people's stories with the world, and also because it gives me an opportunity to get in front of people and remind them I'm out here. But Ken, he has a great story, has a great book. Is you can find him over at kenelliott.com. That's 2 L's and 2 T's. Fred will put all the links up. That's where you can find his artwork. His website for the book and his speaking is manifesting123.com. The book is Manifesting 123, and you don't need 3. I'm going to try this one more time. Any last thoughts?
Well, yes. You're going to send me an archive. I'm going to put this up on my website, and they can hear this broadcast, and they can go to the website and look through your archives. And if people go to my website, there is a newsletter that comes out every Friday with stories from readers. I'm diligent about that. I've never missed one. I missed one.
I have.
In 2 years.
I've missed more than one. So
yeah. Well,
yeah.
I just have to do it. And there's over 200 of them. It's more fun than watching Batman 5. And you can cross-check this. You can look up all kinds of things, and you'll see big stories, little stories, and it's all there to encourage you to just ask, pray, do Manifesting 123, make a vision board, do a wish list. If you do nothing else, be grateful for at least 7 things every day. That will work wonders too. Thank you, man.
Oh, thank you. I've really enjoyed talking with you. I'm glad that we could get together.
You gonna sing?
Yeah, I'm still here. Just a second. I'm trying to pause the video. All right. This is the part of the show where I go over what I've learned, but in this particular case, it seems like what I learned is that many of the things I've been doing already are things that that Ken actually knows why they work and how they work. And I'm interested in how he put it, that the law of attraction is like a tagline. It's the way we look at things after they've happened, as opposed to looking at the thoughts and the thoughts we sent out there during before the actions happened. I love that he talked about gratitude, because I do believe that we have to continue to be grateful for our accomplishments, no matter how small, if we're going to move forward towards those big goals and big dreams. And I'm also, you know, I don't even feel selfish. I'm glad we got to discuss some of my own issues, some of my own thoughts in this area of manifesting, because I feel like if it's something that I've dealt with that I want to ask about, the odds are it's something one of you wants to ask about. And who knows, maybe someday we'll get to the point where you guys can send me questions before I have a guest on, and you can go, hey, ask him about this. Or, hey, Max, do you also have this same experience? And if so, could you talk about it with your guest? I'll be more than happy to do that. But at the end of the day, he has been very successful in his life. He's gotten a lot of great opportunities. And I loved how he ended with just ask. As you know, I've done webinars where I tell people just ask. My first public talk was just press send. We have to feel like we are worthy enough to ask for the things we want and need in our lives if we're ever going to get them. So those are some of the things I learned. Again, this is The Blind Blogger, known around the world. The website is theblindblogger.net. On Twitter, I'm at Maxwell Ivy. It's youtube.com/Maxwell Ivy. Facebook.com/theblindblogger. Basically, go to theblindblogger.net, hit the contact form, send me an email. It's just ask at theblindblogger.net. I love hearing from people. I love your comments. I've really appreciate that I can inspire people to take action. And I really love it when somebody writes in and tells me what I've inspired them to do. So you can go to the website. You can buy my books, Leading You Out of the Darkness into the Light. It's not the cookie, it's the bag. And soon I'm going to get some sort of a thing set up so y'all can pre-order the Blind Bloggers New York City adventure. Yes, for those of you who are followers, subscribers, supporters, people who I depend on, it is coming. It will get here. Me and Lorraine are working on it every day. Well, almost every day, but we're getting there. All right. I love you taking the time with me. I know you're busy. I know you have a lot of demands on your time. I appreciate you spending some of it with me. Until next time, thank you. God bless you and take care out there. I will sail my vessel till the river runs dry. Like a bird upon the wind, these waters are my sky. I'll never reach my destination if I never try. So I will sail my vessel until the river runs dry. Until the river runs dry.